From a standpoint of music history, this guy probably ranks as the greatest Canadian superstar of his era, although Hank Snow eclipsed him in the 40s and 50s. When he started, there was no really Canadian music superstars like him, and he paved the way. Known as Montana Slim in the States, we have to be talking about Nova Scotia's own Wilf Carter. Now born Wilfred Arthur Charles Carter in Port Hilford, Nova Scotia, beautiful community, was a Canadian country and western singer, songwriter, guitarist, and yodeler. In his career, he wrote over 500 songs. In 1971, he was inducted into the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, and of course as part of the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame. Widely acknowledged as the father of Canadian country music, Carter was Canada's first country music star, inspiring a generation of young Canadian performers. Again, born in Port Hilford, one of 9 children, his father was Swiss. He began working odd jobs by the age of 8 in Canning, Nova Scotia. He began singing after seeing a traveling Swiss performer named the Yodeling Fool in Canning. Carter left home at the age of 15 after a falling out with his father, who was a strict Baptist minister. In 1923, at the age of 18, after working as a lumberjack and singing with hobos and boxcars, he moved west to Calgary, where he became friends with Pete Knight and found work on the Davis Ranch near Brooks as a cowboy. In 1979, Carter was a Grand Marshal at the Calgary Stampede. He made extra money singing and playing his guitar at dances, performing for tourist parties, and traveling throughout the Canadian Rockies. It was during this time that he developed his own yodeling style, sometimes called an echo yodel or a 3-in-1. Now, part of RCA's big record label. He performed his first radio broadcast on CFCN Alberta in 1930. Soon after, he was heard locally on CFAC and national on CRBC. 2 years later, he was entertaining tourists as a trail rider for the Canadian Pacific Railway, who promoted horseback excursions into the Rockies. Carter soon became very popular in the region. In 1933, he was hired as an entertainer on a maiden voyage of the British ship SS Empress. Later that year, he stopped off in Montreal and made his first recording, My Swiss Moonlight Lullaby, and of course the classic, The Capture of Albert Johnson. After signing with the Canadian branch of RCA, My Swiss Moonlight Lullaby became the first hit record ever by a Canadian country performer. That same year, Carter also wrote and recorded Pete Knight, The King of the Cowboys, which also became a hit. For 7 years, from 1934 to 1970, he hosted his own CBS country music radio program in New York City. His announcer was Burt Parks. CBS changed his name to Montana Slim to appeal to American audiences. Carter also performed on WABC radio. In 1937, he returned to Alberta, where he purchased a ranch. He continued to appear on CBC, NBC, and CBS until CBS dropped him in 1940. So this was the era of Jimmy Rogers, the Carter family, and all that. Ironically, in 1940, Carter seriously injured his back in a car accident in Montana. He was unable to perform for much of a decade, but his popularity was sustained by the periodic release of new recordings. Now, he had a contract with RCA for 5 years, 47 and 52, and then moved to Nashville, where he recorded with Decca from 54 to 57. He also sold his ranch in 49 and moved his family to a 180-acre farm in New Jersey. Now, in 49, Carter resumed live performances with tours in Canada and the States. In 1950, he attracted over 50,000 people during a week at the C&E Bandstand in Toronto. In 1953, he started touring with his own show called The Family Show with the Folks You Know. His daughters, Carol and Sheila, worked with him as dancers and backup singers. In 1964, Carter performed for the first time at the Calgary Stampede, and of course, the TV appearances added up. He became one of the most requested guests of the TV show, hosted by the Canadian country singer Tommy Hunter, and also was on other major shows across North America. Now, they called this a super tour. In the 60s and 70s, he toured with Hank Snow. In 1980, country music queen Kitty Wells and her husband Johnny Wright encouraged Carter to tour with them, which was billed as Carter's 80th birthday tour. From 1980 to 85, he toured different parts of Canada. In 85, he toured with the great Slim Whitman. But in 92, Wilf toured across Canada in the Canada Farewell Tour. Now, the idea about Carter, Canadian Songwriting Hall of Fame, there's no Hall of Fames could cover him. Now, Wilf Carter recorded over 40 original and compilation LP records for R.C. Victor, including Nuggets of the Gold West, Christmas in Canada, Songs of the Rail and Range, Songs of Australia. Wilf Carter sings Jimmy Rogers, and Let's Go Back to the Bible. In 83, he re-recorded many of his popular songs for 50 golden years. In 88, he recorded his last album, Whatever Happened to All Those Years. In 91, at age 86, he made his last concert tour, appropriately called The Last Roundup, with shows throughout Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Ontario, and Manitoba. He retired the following year due to a loss of hearing. He died in 1996 in Scottsdale, 13 days before his 92nd birthday. Now, 52, he moved, this time to Orlando, where he opened the Wilf Carter Motor Lodge, a venture that lasted 2 years. 71, Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame, Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame in 84, following year the Canadian Music Hall of Fame, and the Juno Awards Hall of Fame. He was also made an honorary chief of the Stoney Indian tribe. A video documentary was released in 2000 called The Last Roundup, the Wilf Carter story, which examined Carter's distinguished career. Now, again, he wrote hundreds of songs dealing with a wide range of themes, including traditional country western, cowboy, folk, and hobo songs. His recordings of Blue Canadian Rockies and You Are My Sunshine are among the most popular. Fellow Canadian artist Ian Tyson considers Carter an influence on his music. Another Canadian artist, Stu Davies, acknowledged the importance of Carter's mentorship early in his career and credited him with securing Davis's first recording contract with Sonora Records in New York. Now, many albums and the charted singles, ladies and gentlemen, most of them were on the Canadian charts. But one of the most interesting songs, ladies and gentlemen, he ever did was something called There's a Love Knot in My Lariat, written and composed by Carter. It's considered one of his signature tunes. It was inducted to the Canadian Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2007. He wrote the song in 37 and recorded it a couple of weeks later. According to the song's profile, it's an honest expression of his feelings for his future wife and nurse, Bobby Bryan. He's longing from Alberta prairie life. Now, he also did something called I'm Casting My Lasso Towards the Sky. Many artists have recorded this as well. But, ladies and gentlemen, Wilf Carter for the poor people of Canada, for the poor people in the States, he was always the inspiration of Wilf Carter can make it. And during the Depression of the 1930s and the recessions of the 40s and 1950s, Wilf Carter was our hero, and what I consider one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Canadian country singer of all time. Hank Snow was good, but Wilf Carter, you say that, and it's a time long past, but all the times on the trail, Wilf, you want to have a Wilf Carter song in your mind because, dealing with the horses and the range, and I think Wilf Carter, everybody dropped the ball. They could have been singing cowboy and tons of westerns, but they're too freaking stupid. Well, Wilf Carter, again, the greatest of his era, and I think, if not a top 5 Canadian music artist of all time, pretty freaking close. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you like what we're doing here with our Behind the Tracks podcast, let us know in a like, comment, subscribe, or share.